it's Jennifer, and today we're going to tell the story of Inanna's descent. If you're not familiar with it, it is a story from a 5,000-ish year old epic Sumerian poem found written on clay tablets. The versions we tell today are a little different from the original, and this one has my own little flourishes and artistic liberties taken. But either way, this story is a template for the heroine's journey, for the times in life when we're called to our own underworlds to confront our shadows and to die to the life we thought we had, before ascending as wiser and more compassionate versions of ourselves. We are going to tell this story in the tradition of Jungian archetypal storytelling, and that is just a way to explain myths and fairy tales through the lens of one person's psyche. So all the characters and parts of the story represent part of one person's experience, and it's based off the work of Carl Jung. I hope you enjoy this telling, and let's get into it. As you listen, see if you can find yourself in the story. Inanna was the queen of light. In addition to being a beloved ruler, she was also a mother and a wife. And on perhaps a more relatable note, Inanna was a good girl. She had done all the things expected of her, and it had paid off. She was clever too. She had tricked the god of wisdom into giving her the gifts of civilization, which she shared with the people of her kingdom. Beauty, brilliance, wealth, success. Who could ask for more? So, yeah, everything was going pretty well for Inanna. And then one day, she heard a whisper. Inanna. She ignored it. It grew louder. Inanna, I need you. She tried to carry on, go about her queenly business, but the voice became more insistent. Come, Inanna, come. It was no mystery. Inanna would have recognized that voice anywhere. It was her sister, Ereshkigal, who was also a queen, but one who had been banished to the underworld. And the uncomfortable truth was, Inanna had something to do with sending her there. Ereshkigal deserved it, though, you know? I mean, maybe it was a little harsh, but it was really the only choice for the greater good of the kingdom. Well, that's what Inanna told herself. And once it was done, she tried to move on, stay busy, forget. But now the voice would not let her forget. Inanna, you can't ignore me forever. Well, that was true. Inanna really didn't want to go see her sister, but still, the voice persisted. And finally, Inanna surrendered to what she already knew. She had to go to the underworld. So she called her trusted servant, Ninshubur, to help her prepare. Ninshubur was clearly pretty worried about the prospect and begged her not to go. Oh, please, Inanna, this is not a good idea. Just forget Ereshkigal. Perhaps you just need some distractions to get back to normal. You've been working too hard. I'll get you some wine and we can plan something fun. But by now, Inanna was well past that. She could not be distracted or dissuaded. Ninshubur understood, but the color drained from her face as she gave her last warning. My dearest queen and friend, you must understand. People who go don't come back, and the few who do are forever changed. Inanna shook her head like she understood. But the thing is, we never really understand what awaits us in the underworld until we've experienced it. And so, with the help of her servants, Inanna readied herself for the journey as best she could. She put on her crown and a beaded forehead band, a beautiful necklace with a lapis stone protecting her throat, an armored breastplate, a studded girdle around her belly. She slipped on her gold signet ring and her heavy royal cloak. Because whether we are the queen of light or just an average woman from the 21st century, we face our challenges with whatever we have in our arsenal, even if those things are completely inadequate for the task at hand. And so Inanna set off, no doubt looking gloriously confident in her upper world attire, although her eyes may have betrayed her her inner knowing. Ereshkigal was not going to make this easy. So, sure enough, when Ereshkigal heard Inanna was coming, she had the gates shut. So there were 7 gates leading to the underworld, and at each one a guard was posted. The point wasn't really to keep Inanna out, but to pass through, she would have to pay. As she approached the first gate, Inanna did not know what to expect. She tried what had always worked. "I am Inanna, Queen of Light. You are no doubt expecting me." "Oh, are we ever?" laughed the guard, unmoving. "Then open the gate," demanded Inanna in her most regal tone of voice. "That's not my orders," the guard snapped back. "Not your orders. You see that I am the Queen of Light, here by invitation of my sister. You will let me pass." "Apologies, Queen, but you're entering the darkness. You aren't the queen here." The guard snarled and paused as if just to see her squirm, and then continued. "I'll let you pass, but I'll take your crown first. It doesn't do you a bit of good here." Inanna knew he was right. All the things that gave her a sense of power and control on the surface meant nothing in the underworld. So she handed over her crown and passed through the gate. Her head tingled a bit from the lightness of its absence, and her neck felt kind of a freedom from bending to its weight. She wasn't fully sorry it was gone. The terrain between the gates was harder than Inanna expected, darker and more cramped. Sometimes the passageways were so tight she was afraid she would be stuck there forever. She would wriggle through, hoping for relief, only to find tunnels where the only way through was on her hands and knees. There were more than a few moments when Inanna just sobbed and wished she could go back. Oh, to be in her luxurious castle, living her old life. But at the same time, every cell in her being knew there was no going back. And so Inanna persisted, and each time she reached a new gate, another demand was made. One by one, all her beautiful, carefully crafted, curated protective items were taken from her. That beaded forehead band, the lapis stone necklace, the armored breastplate, the studded girdle, the gold signet ring, and the heavy royal cloak. Sometimes she took one last wistful look before handing the items over. Sometimes a memory flickered of a time they brought her comfort or protection. Yet each time she knew she didn't have a choice. And with each layer surrendered, she carried on with a little more lightness. Finally, stripped of every last bit of armor and perhaps exterior dignity, she finally reached the bottom, the pit of darkness that is the belly of the underworld. There was a familiar voice, but it met her with no warmth, only reckoning. Before she could even catch her bearings, Inanna was snatched up, and Ereshkigal had the eye of death put upon her. Now, I'm making some assumptions here, but I think the eye of death is kind of like in The Princess Bride, where it only makes you mostly dead. So don't worry too much, but still, the poor, mostly dead Inanna was thrown onto a meat hook, where she was left. For those of you who have been on your own underworld journeys, you know this place, how it feels, and what shows up when there's nothing left to do but listen to the exiles that live below the surface. And so it was for Inanna. As she hung there in the darkness, with nothing but the sound of her own labored breath, she began to hear something else, whimpering. It grew in intensity, sobbing, and she knew it was her sister. Well, what the hell did Ereshkigal have to cry about? She's the queen of this wretched place, not the one on the meat hook. But no, something in Inanna softened, and she began to have compassion for her sister, who clearly was not well. It was hard to imagine what it had been like for Ereshkigal living in this darkness for so long. 3 days passed with both of the sisters in this state, neither attempting to explain or excuse what they have done to each other, and yet, perhaps, there was everything and nothing to say. There was something about each other's presence, even in this deep place of suffering, that provided comfort. Still, they were both too weakened to do anything. It appeared to be a dire situation, even more so because when the eye of death was placed upon the Queen of Light, a curse was placed on the entire kingdom. Those on the surface were still functioning, but it was as if a heavy fog had descended over them. Thank goodness help was on the way. Ninshibur had no intention of leaving Inanna any longer than necessary in the underworld, and she recognized the effects of the Eye of Death. It was time. 2 fairy creatures were dispatched for the rescue. They were fast, agile, and wise little beings, able to navigate the dark passages with ease, and also equipped with inextinguishable light and healing remedies. When the fairies arrived at the bottom, they knew just what to do. They went straight to Ereshkigal. That might seem strange, that they would not immediately assist their own queen, yet there was something the fairies understood. The Eye of Death would not be removed from the entire kingdom or from Inanna unless they helped the banished sister. And so the fairies gently bathed Ereshkigal in the inextinguishable light and administered the healing remedies of unconditional love and kindness. The result was breathtaking, as Ereshkigal was transformed from pale, ghastly, and hardly recognizable to a glowing version of her former self. She then turned toward Inanna, looked her in her now wide-open eyes, held up an open hand, and instantly 2 guards appeared and removed Inanna from the meat hook. A servant swiftly followed with a dress, nothing fancy but warm and welcomed. Finally, Inanna spoke aloud to Ereshkigal. "I'm so sorry. Will you come back with me?" Ereshkigal shook her head. "No, but I will be there when I am needed." And Inanna understood. "So your visits will be welcomed and celebrated. You have my word." With that, the spells cast on the kingdom were all broken. It was time for Inanna to return to the surface, and so, along with her fairy guides, she began the ascent. On the way, she passed the things she had given up on her descent: the armor, the jewels, even her crown. She would have been free to pick them up, but none of them seemed quite right, like they'd only be heavy and cumbersome, and they might not even fit. When Inanna reached the surface, its appearance was much the same. She returned to her castle, yet the words of Ninshibur echoed in her mind. People who come back are forever changed. It was true, yet changed seemed an inadequate word. In the underworld, she had seen and felt things she had never imagined. She had been taken to the edge of what she thought she was capable of and pushed right over. It was as if she had been shattered and completely rebuilt. Oh, there were some who missed the old Queen Inanna, the one who played by the rules and did what was expected of her. But Inanna found she liked this version of herself better. She was braver, kinder, and more compassionate, and she felt a connection with her entire kingdom like she never had before. Yes, she had learned the secret of being not only a queen, but a goddess. Unconditional love knows no bounds. Its medicine can find its way to the deepest, darkest places. When it's time, love will bring you back from the abyss. That is a secret available to all of us. May we find it. May we make use of it. May we be transformed. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll watch the next video explaining the story's symbolism. So thank you for your support of this channel's mission as you hit like, share, and subscribe. If you want to hear more stories and resources for moving through trauma, this is the place to be. And before you go, I'd love for you to let me know in the comments what part of Inanna's story you're relating to right now. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you in the next video.